Have you ever wondered if there was some magical part of you that you've been unable or afraid to access? Have you ever felt or been told you're crazy? Here's a thought to ponder. What if you're not? What if every imaginary friend, every letter to Santa Claus, every fairy or elf you saw as a child was your inner self reaching out to the spiritual world? What if your blocks are really a bridge? What if your wounds are really your windows? What if all your anxiety and your trauma are there to elevate you to something greater than yourself? I'm here to tell you, you're not crazy, you're connected. Hear from the rock stars of the New Age world about that moment when they stepped into their power and how you can step into yours too. Here on Crazy Connected with your host, Bridget LeRoy. Welcome to today's episode. We have an incredible guest on. I'm so excited. Tell you a little bit about Maryn Azoff, who is helping people awaken to the power of their own voice. Through her unique program and healing modality, she calls the vocal transformation method. And let me tell you something, I am in a cohort with her right now, and it is blowing my mind. Maryn is a classically trained singer, musician, spirit lifter, soul emancipator, and fear crusher. She is on the mission of connecting people from all over the world to realize the potential of their own voice. Welcome, Maryn. I'm so happy to have you on Crazy Connected.
It's so wonderful to be here. Thank you, Bridget.
Yeah, I mean, we've been having kind of a continual conversation, and I really want to know, how did you come up with it? Like, tell me about before Maryn. Let's talk a little bit about before Maryn. Before, like, what kind of life were you living as a child, as a young woman? Where were you growing up? What was your ambition?
Yeah, so the before Maryn, and it's definitely a before Maryn, and that's why this work works. I know it works because of that truth. So I was born into a beautiful family, and they found my voice when I was 5. And okay. I guess I was born a naturally good singer. Like, I had that ability, right? But there was something going on at home that we would call trauma now, that was, I was being told to keep a secret of something that was going on inside of my house. And right at that moment is when something happened in school where I volunteered to sing for the first time, and they found this voice of mine. So my voice became this pathway for me, which I didn't realize any of this, of course, when I was 5 years old, but this voice became a pathway for me to express myself, even though I wasn't able to express what I really needed to express at that time, which was my therapy that really just kept me alive, I would say, or just kept me sane at some level, right? But once they found that voice, they said, okay, she's got a talent, let's train her. They put me in voice lessons. I became known as the singer, like I was the voice. Right. And there were parts of that journey that were really wonderful, that I loved the attention, and I loved the fact that I had the talent, and I loved the training and being on stages and performing and all of those things. But there was always this like deep level of insecurity that was unnamed forever, until I was 33, when this memory that I had repressed from that point forward finally emerged. Right? There was all this behavior. So I went through that, I think, what the majority of us go through, which is they find a talent or a gift or something you excel at, and they train you and educate you there and say, well, this is what you're meant to do here. Like, this is what you're on the planet for. In my case, when it comes to the voice, it's you're going to be a star kid. Right. That's what they want you to do immediately, is go be out in the world, be famous, and make everyone proud.
Right. So, well, I heard you say the singer, and the way you said it, I heard a capital T and a capital S. It was like it was your tarot card, which there should be the singer. That should be totally one. And but it was an archetype that you put on the cloak of the singer, and that's who you became at that time.
Right. I mean, like, invited to family functions with the caveat of she's going to sing, right? Yeah. Every time everyone was together, it was like, Maryn, sing us something. And of course, there's a part of you that loves that. But there was a part of me that was like, I'm more than just that, right?
Sure.
And this talent is there. But what if that goes? Like, there's a part of me that knew that this is like what I was loved for, this person, this personality. And I am, like, you see, there's a lot of light here. That's always been there. But there was something that was gnawing at me that I wasn't even acknowledging was gnawing at me.
Right. And what was that?
The secret that I was keeping, which was of a sexual nature, a trauma that was affecting my second chakra and my third chakra, that was ultimately creating these deep levels of insecurity. And also I was prematurely introduced to that. So there was this other energy, which is highly creative, as you know, from the cohort, like second chakra, creativity, all of that.
Yeah.
And my creativity was there, but I just felt so alone and unseen and unheard on some levels as well. And also the other piece of it is that from a young age, auditioning puts you in competition. So what we're taught at a very young age is that everyone's going out for the same role.
Right.
You're the one who has to get it. So you're put into a world of rejection and competition.
Right, right.
And that's terrible for the ego complex.
Of course, of course. Yeah, and I was partially there myself as a, I went to Tisch, I went on auditions, and I flamed out much earlier. I was like, I cannot do all of this competition. It just wasn't in my heart couldn't take it. But I have a daughter who's 35 and she's still pounding the pavement, and it's just amazing to me that it's just pitting the most kind of animality of our human nature against each other because it's so competitive. So, tell me what happened. Like when did you kind of get off the hamster wheel, and what happened to make you do that?
Yeah, my flame, my that burned out for me pretty early too, because I was in this my whole life from 5, like part of it, went to school for it. And at 19, I got involved with a record label. So there's the dream, right? Like I'm part of this 3-girl group. We're harmonizing. It's kind of this R&B hip hop cool thing that that was in 1999. So that was at the beginning of all of this coming up. This like the boy bands were just starting and everything. And I was in this like, we're going to be the next big thing. Yeah. But the whole experience was absolutely horrible.
Oh my gosh.
For me. And it was creating a character of someone that I wasn't. This Jewish girl from Rockland County, New York, like getting all blinged up and looking like I'm like in the club scene and I'm like this hot thing. And meanwhile, Broadway was what I was raised on.
Right. It was,
but you can don that apparel. And I was with people with names that was like, oh, we're going to be famous. My family was so proud of me. Okay. But behind the scenes, what's going on is drugs and alcohol and sex and parties. And who am I? And what is this?
You were trying to fill up like that empty trauma core with other stuff, right? Trying to keep it down, placate that fire that needed to come out.
I would venture to say it's a bold statement that the vast majority of the stars we're looking at have a very similar story. Sure. There's so much of our piece that we have to sell away to get to be on that main stage. And it becomes something that you actually develop as, no, I'll take this. Like your ego will step in and say, this is actually great. This is empowerment.
Right.
And it's actually false on a lot of levels.
I get it. It's euphoria. It's not like the true absolute happiness that you get, that you now have.
Right. The inner peace, the inner glow, the inner joy, like all of that is what we're born to have and what we deserve. And what I believe the earth invited us here to be a part of, this co-creative, beautiful, physical world that each human being gets to create. And that's where this work comes from. So our voice is how we primarily do that. Literally, like the frequency, the vibrational quality of our voice is how we do that. Because we know now through, quantum mechanics and manifesting and all these things that everything is resonance and everything is really creating sound. And we're part of that.
The amazing thing about vocal transformation with Maryn is that Tia and I were just talking before we started, that people go to these sound bowl healings and stuff, and that is resonance from the outside in. What you teach is how to heal yourself through sound vibration from the inside out.
Yes.
And that is just incredible. I really don't know anybody else who's doing what you do, Maryn. It's amazing. So tell us how you got there. Tell us about that moment when you realized, I'm not crazy, I'm connected.
Yeah, so what happened was a hero's journey, and that's what they call it, and that's what it actually is. So at 19 years old, I am tasting my dream. Mm-hmm. This is the dream they fed me. You are going to be a big star. I'm with 2 other girls who only want to be a big star. I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be a creative. I had more in there, but their idea of fame was like, I want the life-size cut out of me at the Virgin Megastore in Times Square, and then that means I've made it somehow, And there was always this kind of, we talk about resonance so much in my work, there was this dissonance all the time. And I was sabotaging left and right. I will not deny that. I was making choices that were the least healthy choices a human can make to cope, which so many of us fall into. And at this moment, I just realized this is not at all what God wanted for my life. And yes, my voice is a gift. Like, yes, that's there, but this is not how I'm going to do it. And when that moment actually struck, my 3.5-year-old niece was in the back seat of a car that my mother and I were driving in the front seat. And my mother my niece asked for the music that I had been recording. She wanted to hear her Aunt Maryn's songs. And a song came on that she was singing every word to at 3.5. And I said, I don't want her to sing this song. I do not want a young girl to think that she's about her body and the clubs and the hot and the sex. And wow, look at the world we're in right now, right? So this happened in 99, and God, how far we've come from that moment,
yes,
right?
Yes.
But I realized, like, full body recognition, I don't want to be a singer in a mainstream way if this is the music that they want me to make. And so I decided I was going to quit. There were lots of reasons. There was lots of things, but it really was, I can thank my niece, Chloe. Like, I can thank her for loving my music.
Yeah.
And me being like, I'm going to corrupt her.
Yeah.
So I decided I don't want to be a singer. And that meant all areas. Like, I just went extreme, like, cut it.
Sure.
And I quit the entire business, and I got on a plane and I moved to Australia. Like, I literally went to the furthest place you could go in the world until you're coming back around.
Right, where the water goes down the sink the wrong way, right?
Because I needed to go to where nobody knew me or had any idea of what I would be, and I had the chance to find out who the heck I was really.
Right.
And the beauty of spirit, the beauty of how when you make a choice like that, the earth, God, your ancestors, angels, whatever you want to call all the protective forces of our life, how they watch that, they see it, and they come. They come full force. When you have that kind of courage, it takes courage and fortitude to begin a hero's journey like that. But we are so guided once we do that.
Yeah.
So I get to the other side of this world, not even knowing what's about to come. And I have very little money. I'm trying to make everything meet. I'm just like, I know I'm out. And when that happened, it's a very long story that I'm going to truncate for this interview. I end up on an ashram by an invitation to a customer of mine at a cafe that I used to run. And she brought me to an Agnihotra ashram, which is an ashram where you do these Vedic fire rituals, where you do mantras over a fire. And we were in a place in the Cessnock Valley where it was in 35 years of drought. All the farmland around us could not grow any food. Yet we were on a farm that grew such an abundant food source that we could feed our neighbors. That we had everything we needed.
Magical
with the same
land.
little bit of water, magical land. You would turn up the street to Amsterdam, and it was a whole other world. And it was all because of the chanting of mantras that was going on there all day, every day. So I had this real understanding. And that moment, you think it's a little bit woo-woo, right? It's always this idea that it's woo-woo. But all you had to do was live there for a little while to feel what starts to happen. And when you're chanting the mantras every day, your bowels change the way that they move. Your body odor disappears. I don't even have words for what happened.
That's so wild.
The way that we cleaned up in the process of chanting the mantra and how pristine our energy became. Yeah. I couldn't stay and live on that ashram because it just wasn't my destiny, and I knew that I just couldn't live in this small little. But I left and ended up having to go back to the States because I had an accident. It was my time to go home, and there was a big accident that threw me back to New York. And when I got back to New York, the frequency there was so thick with the past, with like who I was, that I didn't even continue any of those practices. I came home a vegan where I wasn't. And then in a matter of time, at that time, it was 2005. At that time, it was like there was still not a lot of ability to keep that up. Now we have that, but back then it wasn't like that. So I pretty quickly got sucked back into being the old Maryn. which is wild when I even think about it now.
But I bet it must have felt like a very, like a facade. It didn't feel
It
real.
was, yeah, it was what I had to do to be able to fit back in
Right.
to the people that were my people that I was going to come home to. Right. And so
Right.
it's a very thick thing. It's a very heavy, like, oh God, I don't want to be rejected. This is my home. But then the miracle, and here was the miracle. The miracle was that I was found by a woman who recognized me spiritually and introduced me to my first shaman.
Okay.
So
then you were on a pathway of transformation with a guy, a trusted leader or guide. Let's not say leader, because that's that smacks of cult. But I know what you mean. You found someone, a kind of a guru who could lead you, take your hand, and lead you through the fire.
Yeah, and I found it was someone who was safe enough that it was actually finding my own way in the fire, but they were holding a safe enough space for me to get there. Right?
Well, that's like my shaman friend Ray. You know, his the Caros said to him, because he threw himself at their feet and said, heal me. And they said, we can't heal you, but we can teach you this and you can learn to heal yourself. So it's really about that journey, right?
That's exactly what vocal transformation is about.
Yeah.
So early on in the first ceremony, I was with this shaman. He saw a vision I was having separately, where I was being told that the voice was a tool for healing, that it was meant to heal me and ultimately my life, and that that every time I was asked to sing over all those years when I decided I wasn't a singer, every time I was asked to sing, that I said no, which had happened a lot, that I was basically spitting in the face of God.
Wow.
Yeah, so I had this full body shame and started just begging for my life. You know, this like fear that overcomes you, like, I'm going to hell, I'm spitting in the face of God. So I start asking God, like, what can I do for forgiveness? I would never want to spit in your face. And God says to me, promise me if anybody asks you to sing, moving forward, you will sing. And of course, to save my soul, I made that promise. This is all internal, right?
Right.
And at that exact moment, this shaman comes over to me, first time with him, and asks me to sing.
Wow.
True shaman.
Not really knowing your past, not knowing that stuff, just
seeing everything that was happening like a true shaman. He was right there with me in it. And obviously he was like, oh, sing now. I want to know what this is all about too, you know?
So what came out of you?
So no song could be found. And I'll tell you, I know thousands and thousands of songs. I am programmed from birth. Music is my language. So I know a trillion songs and not a single song. My head is spinning. My tongue is numb. My heart is racing. I'm in the grasp of a deep amount of fear. And at that moment in my ceremony, everything stops. And I hear, why are you afraid? And I get sucked into a wormhole of all of the times in my life where I've compromised myself for acceptance, where I've sold pieces of myself away, or where I have failed, where I've sung and embarrassed myself in front of people, where like it just took me on this like rapid tailspin of all the things that were making me insecure, that were still alive inside of me. And at the very end of all of that, it like burned it to the ground. And there was a song waiting for me that I hadn't heard since I was 18 years old. And it was only recently, now I'm 45, it was only recently that I remembered that was probably the song that was the key point of my ability at 19 to walk away from that really disastrous situation. Like what the message of that song was that you can burn all things to the ground so that new life can grow.
Right. Wow.
And that's what I went and did on my hero's journey. I just went and burned Maryn up.
Yeah.
Right. But really, ultimately, to answer, it was the shaman, it was the plant medicines, and it was this journey. I have no idea who I would be without this incredible gift of Pachamama.
Yes.
And when we connect with the earth and we connect with the plants and we connect with the spirit realms of these beings, how much help we get to remember who we are. And the last thing I'm going to say is that there was a beautiful book, and I can't remember the name of it now because it was years ago, where there was this quote that said, the shamanic journey is a journey of dismembering so that we can remember.
Absolutely. just breaking like I think of it being like a candy coating almost, like breaking that into a million little shattered pieces so that the true essence can come through. And that's just such an amazing, beautiful, I love that you went back to this song that you hadn't heard since you were 18, which is just before you went on this kind of false Maryn journey of, I would just picture you in like a bedazzled jean jacket and like
oh, I was blinked out with the big glasses and the fur. Like I was in an R&B hip hop girl group that was like, it was the falsest thing I've ever been asked to be a part of.
Oh, wow. And so tell me now, like, how did you come to create vocal transformation? Well, first of all, I want to, while you think about that, I'm going to tell people just a little teeny bit about it, if that's okay with you. We're very new in this cohort. I don't even know why I joined this. I mean, I just felt called. Like, I met Maryn by mistake, kind of. I was at Omega with my husband during the summer. We were there for a 1-week retreat called Higher, I don't even remember now, but whatever.
Higher Self-Magnetism Retreat.
Higher Self-Magnetism. And we were there because Juanpa and Regan Hillier, who hopefully will be on this show as well, who are, friends of Maryn and your partner, Patrick. My husband follows Juanpa on Mind Valley. So I was like, oh, let's see if he's around. And then boom, you guys were doing this weekend, like, at Omega, which is, an hour and a half away from New York City. It's like, it's easy. And I went, well, let's sign up. Most great things in my life have happened this way, where I kind of don't know what I'm getting into and I sign up and my mind gets blown. So we, it's like you come for the one thing and you stay for the other. And everybody was just so magical that week. It was an incredible week of connection. So I'm not like making anything be one or the other, but I found my voice, and I have a lot of stuff that's trapped in my throat, which Maryn and I have talked about, and we'll obviously talk about more because we're going to know each other for a very long time. But I didn't realize how much I was holding until I was given permission to release my voice. Now, I also was classically trained. I had an opera teacher. I'm not a particularly great singer in the sense that I'm not getting down on myself. I'm not what would be considered like, a popular singer. But I also was shamed a lot, just those moments where you are singing like a little bird and, somebody like a friend of yours rolls their eyes and goes, oh, you can't sing. Those little wounds stop us from really being so authentic with one of the few things we have that can literally change the vibrations in our body. And we learn to just clap it down and not let it out. So it's just such an incredible gift to be in this cohort where each chakra, the 7 chakras, is aligned with a different time in your life. So the root chakra is 0 to 6 months old, right? We're in the womb. I mean, I'd say pre-0. We're in the womb. The first sense is the sense of hearing. We're hearing our mother's heartbeat. We're hearing whatever is going on around us while our mothers are pregnant with us. We're, and then we come out and we're lying close to Pachamama, right? We're lying on the ground. We're in touch with the root, the mother. So that's just a little bit. And then now I'm listening to the part about the sacral chakra, which is 6 months to 3 years, I think, where we sit up and the root chakra drops down. And now we're in that creativity and our eyes become more important, and then touch and everything. So what I'm telling you is stuff that I've learned from Maryn Azoff and vocal transformation. And I have been on a journey for a very long time. And you offer something, this unique vocal transformation, which I don't think anybody else offers. I've not seen it or heard about this. So tell us how you actually came up with this.
Yeah, I have to say the greatest gift of my life is that this work decided to move through my vessel because I don't know anybody else who's teaching it like this either. Although if you're out in the world, please come find me because I really want to I want to share talk heads and share ideas. Yeah. But the medicine gave me this whole thing. And so what I come to understand that is that it is the great intelligence of Pachamama, of Viracocha, of the heavenly realms and the earth all combined as one. It is the spirit realm and the physical realm. It is that energy that is all through the DNA. So if we're looking at one particular plant medicine, although, there's lots of different shamanic plants. If we're looking at ayahuasca, she's working with she's the vine of the dead, they call her, and she's working with your genetic coding. So through this shamanic practice, I got a full download of this work, of what it is. And it came through a humongous 5-dimensional rendering that was literally happening in front of me. And showing me how the voice is the key to the human liberation. And we've known that since the beginning of time. So when we have our voice that is confident, and our confidence is primordial, so exactly to what you said, once someone from the outside of you tells you that you're doing something wrong, there's just like one little nick in the perfect intelligence that you are, because you now will doubt yourself. And that has happened to all of us so much. Even just go down to how we've been educated. Right. We live in a society where we are put through a filtration system and told how to think and what to think and how to be. And very rarely is there a human on this planet who is allowed to just be human. Right. And to see what that consciousness will do. And just to tell everyone on this call, you already are the most incredible intelligence that you could ever be. What we are learning is how to be part of a society, but there's really very little that you need to learn from anybody outside of yourself. So what I was shown in this amazing moment of my life is that as the frequency of the voice, which is the soul's dynamic life urge for truthful expression, and truth means your individual, unique experience. So the voice is something that gets born of a breath, which is pulling spirit into the physical form. And then the intelligence of the form that awakens, the feeling that occurs from that unification. And then what that feeling makes us want to express, right? And so sometimes that's verbal, but sometimes it's physical. Your voice is not only what you say and how you sing. Your voice is everything you bring from your inner knowing into the outer world. We are creating reality, every single one of us, every day. But we are raised in a world to believe that other people know better than us, and that we actually have to fall into the reality that's already been created. Right. And fit into there somehow. And maybe we dream of being like the best at something that already exists. But very rarely does a human being ever dream of being something that's never existed before.
Right.
Right. So this is possible.
Yeah. No. I mean, believe it or not, we're sort of wrapping up now. I just wanted to tell people how they can get in touch with you to hear more.
I need hours of this, right?
I know it's a short. It's just a short little bit, but this is such transformational work. And I know you can find Maryn Azoff at vocal_transformation on Instagram. You have a website. You do private classes, all of this stuff, and you are awake. As the Buddha says, people said, are you an angel? Are you a god? He said, I am awake. Maryn, you are awake, and you bring other people to that awareness and awake soul. So thank you.
Thank you. So I want to say the last thing is that all of this is through the voice. So what she showed me was that our own voice is the first thing we ever used when we came into the world, and that through that faculty, we can awaken every part of our being and ultimately liberate ourselves. And so my website is vocaltransformation.com. And as you said, vocal_transformation on Instagram. We do live retreats that are 1 week long that will change your life forever. And we do these cohorts that are 9 months long that take you with accountability through a chanting practice that will literally rebirth you.
Thank you so much, Maryn. And we're going to take you all out with one of Maryn's more kind of traditional songs, but still such a beautiful, angelic voice. Thank you again so much for coming on Crazy Connected, Maryn Azoff.
Thank you.
Every day grateful.
It's a beautiful